y'all, it's Chloe and we're back with another video. Y'all, we're about to cover Laron's interview with Little Black Book. But before we do, I need you to do me a favor. If this is your first time here, sit back, relax, watch the video through. And if you like what you see and you like what you hear, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If y'all one of my lovely members or subscribers, hey y'all, how y'all doing? Go ahead and like the video because I know you're going to like the video. Okay, so let's just get into it. I want to start this off by saying that I am from the same place Laron is from, New Jersey. Newark, Irvington, East Orange, all of that. That's my area, okay? So I get it. I see him because I see men like him on a daily basis. And based on what he talked about in the beginning of his interview, I can understand why he's guarded. Where we're from is the trenches. Where we're from is the trenches, okay? This is the hood. So there's so many different scenarios that this man could have been through in his life that he just doesn't want to put on display. And I don't blame him, but I also feel as though he needed to be very clear with Kojo that he did not want to go into that aspect of his life. Everyone who watched Kojo's interviews know that he likes to sit there and, get your childhood just so he can kind of analyze and figure out and help you self-discover why you are the way you are, okay? That's what Kojo does. He also did an interview with Kamisha Reviews, okay? And in Kamisha Reviews, he was a totally different person than he was last night, okay? Let me just put this in perspective. Well, he was on Kamisha's channel. He was very jokey. He was very boastful. He was very immature, just childish, just like a little bit like, snarky, like taking shots at the women, bragging about his place, things like that. But then when he got on Kojo's channel, he was very, very different, okay? He had the shades on because he wanted to guard himself. He didn't want us to see through him, but I see through him because I've been around men like him. I will say this. I know that he said that he hasn't been to therapy as an adult, but I honestly really, really think he would benefit from it because there's so many things that I believe he needs to unpack. Because there's so many different scenarios that I can only assume he's been through based on where we're from. I'm talking about gang violence. I'm talking about drug dealing. I'm talking about poverty, just certain things I think therapy will help him unpack. Because even when Kojo asked him, who's been there for you? And he said no one. He's been there for himself. So I just want to put that out there. I see who Laron is because I see men like him. With all that being said, I'm not going to give him an excuse because he is a grown man now, okay? And if you are a man out here looking for love and you want to be a father and you want to be a husband, then you need to start doing some self-work on yourself so that you can be all those things for your family. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I'm not going to cover everything that happened in this interview because I want you guys to go ahead and watch the interview. I'm going to focus more so on the ready to love process than anything else, okay? So Kojo asked him when he first got there, which woman caught his eye initially. He said the first woman who caught his eye was Mika, okay? He said when he saw Mika, she was so beautiful. And the reason why he brought up being a party guy was because he assumed that Mika was a party girl. And so in order to run game on her or to make her like him, he came up with the narrative that I'm a party guy, I be in the clubs, because he assumed by the way that Mika looked that she was one of the girls that be in the club. That's one, okay? Then he said that next he was interested in Koshia. He said that she was a Southern woman and it seemed like her grandmother or mother raised her well, like she can cook, she can bake pies, she could clean the house. He's not trying to be sexist, but that's the vibe that he got from her. That's what he assumed about her, okay? He said that him and Koshia's conversation was very organic. It flowed, and she liked to talk her ish the same way he do. So he just felt like they would have fun together, okay? Now, I want y'all to think about what I just said about how he perceived Koshia and how he perceived Mika. So he perceived Mika as the fun girl, someone who, who's in the clubs, and that's why he led with him being in the clubs and partying, because that's what he assumed about her. But then he turned around and was interested in Koshia because he believed that she was raised to cook, clean, and bake pies. Right. Totally two different women. And he changed his approach for both of them, okay? So when Kojo asked him, how did he feel when Koshia said that she sees through him? He said that's the first time that he's felt seen because people always make assumptions about him when they meet him. I find that very, very interesting that you would sit there and say that you felt seen for the first time because people make assumptions about you, but you did the same exact thing to Mika and Koshia. You assume that they were these type of girls. You see what I'm saying? You need to do some work on yourself because if you want someone to see you for who you are and not make assumptions, then you probably should do the same thing in your dating life. He's talked about his relationship with Koshia and how they really just clicked and how he didn't want to talk to anyone else after that, okay? He felt as though she took a play out of his playbook and she really sucked him one in, okay? But we saw it. Remember, I said that in my review when she, leaned into him and he felt like he could let his guard down. It was very intense. Very, very intense. So then Kojo asked him, okay, so at the second mixer, who caught your eye? He said that when he saw Maya, he was shook, okay? He said that he didn't know what to say to her. He was so nervous to talk to her. He was a wreck, okay? Homegirl had that man shaking in his boots. Okay, because she's beautiful, and I definitely believe it. But it's very contradicting to the man that we saw in Kamisha's channel, where he was very, boastful, and he was very arrogant. But you was shook when you saw Maya. So much so that you couldn't even have a conversation. You had to be close in proximity to her through Jonathan because you were so scared to approach her on your own. I love that for him. I love that for him, okay? So when we tell you that Maya was out of your league, baby, I don't understand why you caught offense to it. Because you felt she was out of your league as well, which is why you were standing there shaking in your boots, terrified to talk to her. So don't make it seem like us as the reviewers are reading things wrong. Baby, you and I know that she was out of your league. He mentioned how when he talked to Vanessa, she was a breath of fresh air. And he really enjoyed the conversation that they had. But that was before the drinks kicked in. So Kojo said, so what happens when the drinks kick in? He said when the drinks set in, he gets on demon time, okay? And it must have worked because after that, the girls was asking to go on dates with him. So at this current point, his 3 connections is Koshia, Maya, and Vanessa. He said those were the 3 women he could see himself with. Kojo asked him, what about Koshia made you see yourself with her? He said that he felt that she would push him on the business tip and she would force him to elevate his game and show him how to be a man to her, okay? He felt like he could grow with her. And I was like, so you basically want to be with this woman because you feel as though she can build you up? He asked her, what about Maya made you feel like you could have a future with her? He said, because she's attractive. And they both kind of want the same thing. And he felt like their relationship would be fun and they can grow together. You see the difference? You see the difference? The difference between what he saw in Maya, who he was very, very, very attracted with, so much so he was shook to his core, he couldn't even talk to her, was that she looked like she would be fun and they can grow together. But he wanted to be with Koshia because she can help elevate him. Everything about these women that he was drawn to was what they can do for him. Then Kojo asked him, what about Vanessa? Made you feel like she could be the one? He said she's a phenomenal woman. And he was drawn to her because she wants to change the world and he wants to be a part of that. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want to grow with your partner, but what I'm saying is it's like he wants to take from these women versus pour into these women. He wants to be a part. He just wants to be a part of her taking over the world. He wants to use Koshia to help elevate his business. Give him some tips and some pointers on how he can make millions of dollars. Nothing about what he saw them in the future said, I can see her being the mother of my children. I can see her being the woman that I come home to as my peace. The way he described why he thought those women would be beneficial to him, kind of just threw me for a loop because it sent me straight to the concept of build a man. When you build a man and you build him up, and then once he get where he needs to be, he go ahead and leave you. That's what I was thinking. The whole time during this conversation, he had these shades on because he's guarded. And I guess he felt like maybe Kojo was being invasive, okay? But when we got to the part where he wanted to go off on production about how they try to show him as this angry man and things of that nature, the shades had to come off, okay? So he took off his shades because he wanted to talk about how they tried to play him with the catfish. He said that he was just excited to have soul food. Because where he lives, where he paid $3,000 a month, they don't have no soul food places. If he put it in the DoorDash right now, it's going to come up as Chick-fil-A. So he was just so happy to be around some soul food. Sir, if you pay $3,000 in rent, I'm sure you can take a drive to go find you some soul food. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, okay? He said that they talked about a lot of different things, and he don't understand why production chose to focus on him and the catfish. I guess because the things you talked about probably had no substance, okay? Kojo asked him, what was the relationship with Koshia and how deep was it? This is what I needed to know. Because remember when I was in my review and I kept saying, I'm missing something. Something's not right. Like, why are they like this? Like, I'm not understanding the tension. It's very, very high, okay? He said that they peeped game early because they wasn't going on dates with each other and they wanted to go on dates. So they started hanging out outside the show, which is also a problem because we know when you start hanging out outside the show, it's bound to go wrong. So they were hanging outside the show. She was going to his house. He was going to her house. They was going on dates. They was having a good time. They was texting and calling each other all the time. And after she went on a date at Chad's house with the rest of them, she ghosted him. And so he was in his feelings about that because they were really dating, okay? Even in this process, Koshia and Laron were dating. They were going out. They were spending the night at each other's houses. That's what he said. I believe that's what he said. Don't quote me. It felt like he said staying the night at each other's houses, whatever case may be. But they was hanging out, okay? So Kojo was trying to ask him, like, why do he feel that she changed? He said that the woman was telling him that in the lounge, she was saying that the men are actors and she's not really sure about him, and that she felt that the guys wasn't really there for love. Y'all remember when Tommy was like, what happened with what we talk about in the lounge stays in the lounge? And I was like, that's not going to happen. That's exactly what's not going to happen. Because the women are going back telling him that she's saying in the lounge that the men are actors and they're not really there for love. Now, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out why she would say that. Now, if you're hanging out with Laron and you're having a good old time, let me just use my brain, okay? It may sound like Laron probably said, I'm just going through the process because I'm getting paid to, this, that, and the other. I'm not really here for all of that, but I really like you, and me and you got a good thing, and we solid, and we're going to kick it up, and we're going to go about this, okay? I'm just doing this for whatever reason. That's what it kind of came off of, which is why in my mind, it makes sense for me to think that if she's in the lounge saying, I'm not sure about him, these men are actors, it would make sense. Y'all get what I'm saying? Because where would it come from? If she is literally having a good old time with you, I mean, y'all kicking it, hanging out, going out, and everything, why would all of a sudden she not be so sure about you unless the pillow talk got too real and she realized that these men are actors? I don't know. That's the only thing that I can assume. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I misunderstood it. Let me know what you think, okay? He also mentioned that he felt as though she switched up on him because when she went to Chaz's house and she realized that Chaz had a nice house and he had his ish together, she figured Chaz would save her. Okay, save her because she needs a man to come save her because she wants $1 million house. And, you know, Chaz got his ish together because she wants someone who at least make $150K or more. And he's not there. He's almost there, but he's not quite there. Now, I'm sitting here like, Laron, I need you to help me make it make sense really, really quickly. Because when you was on Commission Reviews channel and you was taking us on this tour of your house, okay, it's a beautiful house. Beautiful house, okay? You mean to tell me that she was wowed by Chaz's house and not wowed by your house? The house that we looked at on Kamisha's channel was like, wow. It makes me feel like maybe that wasn't your house. If she was so wowed by Chad's house and didn't feel like you can contribute to her life financially. Because I'm picking up what you putting down. I'm spitting what you're saying back to you. She wants someone to make $150K. You was just saying that you living good, you making money, you ain't no broke boy, you got this nice house, this, that, and the other. But meanwhile, she want Chaz to save her. She saw Chaz's house, she saw what Chaz make, and she want him to save her. But you're supposed to be doing just as well. So how come you can't save her? That's what I mean by, on Kamisha's channel, he was doing a lot of bragging. He was very boastful, okay? And then over here, he became a little bit more humble. So I'm looking at two different people tell the same story. And I'm sitting here like something about this don't seem right to me. And I'm trying to piece it all together in my mind to make it make sense. He said that because she had texted him like 2 days after she goes to him. And he only felt like she did that because one, eliminations was coming up. And two, she knew that they all was going to be together in that house. He talked about how he wanted to self-eliminate because he don't need this show for no women. So then why did you come on the show? No, seriously, if you don't need this show to get a woman, why come on the show? He said Vanessa reassured him that he was a good guy and that he should stay. Okay? And that's why he stayed. And he doesn't understand why they tried to make it seem like him and Vanessa didn't have a connection or that they didn't like each other when they definitely had a connection. Now that I can't speak to. But I'm going to bring up what you said yourself, Laron. You said that production shows us a connection or not a connection. When you try to prove to us that you and Maya had a connection. Remember you said they either show you a connection or not a connection. There's no in between. So when they showed us with you and Vanessa as not having a connection, what was that about? Were they making up y'all not having a connection? I don't know. I'm just going off of what you said because you want us to believe that they definitely showed you and Maya having a connection because y'all had a connection. But in the same breath, they showed you and Vanessa not having a connection when y'all had a connection. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to piece it up, all the pieces of the puzzle that you put out there for us to put together. So he wanted to show us a picture of him in the background not looking at Koshia talking to Justin because we needed to know that he was not checking for her the whole party. I'm not buying that at all. If this girl ghosted you and hurt your feelings this much, I know for a fact that you were scoping for her. So you probably wasn't scoping her out every minute of the day, but I'm definitely sure that you was checking for her, sir. Okay? Because the picture proved absolutely nothing. All it proved was that when they took that picture, you wasn't looking. So Kojo was sitting there thinking how I'm thinking. So why you so mad, sir? If you wasn't checking for her and stuff like that, where did all the animosity come from? He then explained to us that something happened outside of the show. This is why we keep trying to tell y'all, stop hanging outside the show. Stop hanging out outside the show, okay? But he said something happened. She did something outside the show that got back to him. And that's when he realized that she was trying to play him. And he's not down for any of that, okay? She was moving very, very foul. Kojo said that he could vouch for what she did was foul. So I'm not going to get into it yet because I need to find out what she did before I could really give my commentary on how I feel about the situation. So I'm just going to go off of based on what we know, okay? He said that the reason why he said, oh, you're smiling in those men's face is because production didn't want him to bring up anything that we didn't see on camera. So he had to use that as a, to bring up why he was mad. He felt like she was playing on his intelligence. She was moving foul. So, of course, when Maya came in, he came running because he's been trying to get to Maya the whole night. He's been trying to have conversation with Maya the whole night. So when Maya came in, he was already like, yes, I'm running. And I'm also saying, yeah, and you did that to throw it in her face. Because you said this so many times, or you were just saying how you don't like nobody playing with you. Don't play with me. I'm not the one. Yes, I'm immature. Call me immature. It's very immature, sir. It's very immature. But he don't care. Okay? He said he's very vengeful. He's going to always come back harder. Don't play with him because he's from Newark. Don't play with him because he's from Newark, okay? Baby, we from the trenches. Don't play with us. Okay, we not for play. I thought that was just so funny. I thought that was just so funny. And it's because, you know, that's where I'm from. So it just really just was like, child, bye. Okay. He said he was willing to crash out. He wanted us to know that he never started anything. He was just going to finish it. So don't come for me unless I send for you. He's at the point where he's like, I'm going to crash out. I'm going to crash out if it's worth it. So this must have been worth it. He's like, at one point it was. And this is where we start getting into it, okay? So apparently, him and Koshia locked in. And I mean, they locked in. He told us that the game plan was for them two to be dating and be locked in while going through the process. And in the process, they wasn't supposed to do too much, okay? Just do enough to stay in the process. Which is why when she told him at the table, if we're not going to do the process, then we might as well go home. That's what she was alluding to. Because they made a pact that if one of them go home, the other one was going to follow. She brought it up and he said that he was down for it, okay? That's what was happening. And that was going to be the plan until he realized that she was moving foul behind the scenes, which is why he was really, really pissed off. He mentioned that Koshia told him when he was talking to April, whatever, like, don't get her effed up. We've seen this plenty of times before in Ready to Love where people start to get into these real relationships and then they start to really let their feelings show. Which is why he said that they was just doing just enough to stay in the process. And the way he explained it all really just made me feel a type of way about the process as a whole. Because if you guys were already in a quote-unquote relationship, your plan was to string on people all the way just to get to the end. Because if you really wanted to be with each other, you could have just been with each other. But instead, y'all was just going to do just enough to keep enough people interested in you to stay until the end. It's the same thing that Clifton did with the kid. He knew he didn't want to be with the kid. He knew he wanted to be with Joy. But he was going to string the kid along as long as he could just to make it to the end with Joy. When in all actuality, the kid could have been building a relationship with someone else if he would have just been honest and just said that it's joy, 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 joy for him. Because we all know that it was joy for him and it's still joy for him. So you get what I'm saying? I was just sitting there like, I'm looking at both of them sideways because while you sitting there trying to put her out there, you putting yourself out there too, sir. And then he goes through this thing about how he cursed her out and he'll do it again. He cursed her out and then he'll do it again. But then he turned around like 5 minutes later and said how he had to apologize because he felt bad for cursing her out because if he had a daughter, he wouldn't want nobody cursing her out like that. And I'm just sitting here like, make up your mind. Make up your mind. That's really what I wanted to cover. Because when I was doing my review, I could not understand. If y'all go back and watch it, I kept saying, I'm just so confused with these two. I'm just so confused with these two. And when Kojo asked him, has they been using the L word? Did anyone ever say the L word? And he was like, no. So I'm like, y'all not in love or nothing, but you was willing to eliminate yourself out the process. Y'all not in love or nothing, but y'all was like, you know, sleeping at each other's houses and hanging out and dating and texting. And you in your feelings and you all so angry and so mad, ready to get your vengeance, okay? You want war, like really want war. And you want me to believe that there was no love words being thrown around? I don't know if I completely buy that. And the way that you guys, and the tension between you guys also leads me to believe that y'all may have been sleeping together. Now, I don't know if you were for sure, but what I'm saying is it comes off as if you two may have been sleeping together. Which is why tension is so high. And which is why you are so hurt by whatever it is she did. But we can't really get into it yet because we don't know what she did, okay? But when we find out, trust me, baby, we're going to get into it. We definitely going to get into it because she definitely hurt him. That man is hurt. Which is why he takes every chance that he gets to talk ish about that girl. And I also want to throw in one last thing. Laron, stop playing with us. Because we watched the same scene that your mother watched, your exes watched, your friends watched, and ain't none of them call you and tell you that Maya was the one and they ain't never seen you like that with nobody ever before. Because, baby, we all watched it, and I'm trying to figure out what about that was just so spectacular. Now, maybe y'all did have a fantastic date that they really didn't air, okay? But from what we saw, I don't think it was phone call worthy. I really don't. I really, really don't, okay? But I'm going to let you have it, sir. I'm going to let you have it. I encourage you all to really go back, watch Little Black Book's interview if y'all really want to like really get to know Laron and get into the other things that they talked about. And go watch Kamisha Review's interview as well so you can see the opposite side of him. When I tell you he's like a switch, flip on, flip off, he definitely gave us two different sides of himself this week, okay? Nonetheless, I'm just going to say, I feel like Laron, you are immature. Okay, you have a lot of growing to do. And before you become the man, husband, or father that you want to be, you need to go to therapy to unpack some of your trauma and heal. Because you can't be any of those things until you heal yourself. Just my opinion. Anyway, y'all, don't forget to like the video. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about all of this, okay? Like the video. Did I say like the video? Yes, like the video. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you are not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you are subscribed, check your subscriptions to make sure that you're still subscribed because YouTube be unsubscribing people, okay? And with all that being said, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.